Hello to all my sales professionals. This is your coach Joel Pinero bringing you the tip of the day. Something to think about, something that can sharpen your skills. Always remember we got to continue learning and getting better. This can take your career to a whole new level. One little tip that you get, it can change everything. And again, thank you for your comments and your questions. Keep it coming. That's what we do. Okay, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about I got to think about it. Doesn't matter what field you work in, what you sell, what kind of product you sell, okay? That can be a possibility at the end of the presentation. I got to think about it. Now, of course, there's a lot of things that can cause this. I'm going to mention a few, not all of them, but a few so you can start, evaluating what you're doing. First of all, if you don't have the proper sequence in your presentation with the right elements, right, that goes in sync with the mindset of the customer when the sales process starts, then you're not going to be able to get them down to the dollars and cents, right? So again, we're going to develop the trust, right? We have to do that. 4 places, so you got to develop the trust, right? Yourself, your company, the program, and of course the laws that protects them. Okay, your disclosure of intent, all these things, your warm up, you do a little bit about yourself to connect in a human level, and you're going to go through these, processes. Then you could do a little discovery, right? And of course, you have to make sure that you get them sick enough, right? They got to have a problem for them to be able to want to take action. We talked about that in another, video clip. Of course, then after that, they're going to say, help me, Mr. Salesperson. And of course, we're going to create enough urgency so they want to act right now in this moment. We want to get down to the dollars and cents. So sometimes your sequence is not correct and you might miss something. Remember, it's not what you do wrong, it's what you don't do. And a lot of times we want to sell it the way we will want to buy it. Remember, you are not buying, you are selling. So proper sequence, having the right elements in your presentation can eliminate that because they understood the program. Having said understood the program, as you are presenting your product in the right moment in your presentation, one of the questions, right, some people call it closing questions, tie downs, all that, is, asking the customer if they understood what you just explained about your product or what your product can do. Right? When that happens and they explain it back, number one, they're listening, they're paying attention, right? And if something is not totally there, it gives you a second opportunity to, make it up, right? And of course, when they do explain it back, they hear themselves, and of course, that's going to eliminate I don't understand, right? After that, what you do is now that you understand what I just explained, right, on that feature of that particular moment in the product, then you're going to ask, let me ask a question. If you had this, can you see how this can benefit, enhance, help your family, yourself, or the cause, right, depending the product that you're selling? Now, if you've done everything correctly, the customer is going to say, oh, yes, okay? And of course, they're going to agree, get it from both people. If you have 2 people in the party, get it from both. If you got 3, get them from all. Make them all participate. Never leave one out. So when they answer back, yes, I can see how this can help me, ask them for 1 or 2 reasons that will buy this today, right? So now you're kind of putting a little bit of pressure. So when they say the reasons, one thing that happens is they sell themselves. You remember, the voice that you trust the most is yours. I'm just asking a question. Who asks the question controls the interview, right? So I explain a feature. I explain what it does. Remember, it's not sticks and bricks. It's what it does to you and your family, right? The feelings and emotion. But then I get a feedback that they make sure that they understood. There's no better way than they're explaining it back. And then you're going to go with those questions that they're going to tie the people down, right? So when the question is done, they answer, they hear it. And as you go through your presentation, the more of those little things that they say is going to get the people in the right track and is going to give you the right signal that they are, understanding the product. If there was anything that will stop them, stumble, besides the money, which is at the end, you will get an opportunity to handle that and then continue with your presentation. Okay, so again, having the right presentation, having the right sequence, asking for them to explain back what you just explained. And by the way, let's say they're not paying attention. Guess what they're going to do from that point on? They're going to pay closely attention. They're going to listen because they know that you are going to ask them again and they don't want to look bad in front of you. Remember that. So when you do that, they speak, they sell themselves, you just guiding them through the presentation. Now, another reason they got to think about it, right? Lack of urgency, right? Remember, what activates the urgency? The need. So the more sick they are, more they're going to want the medicine when? Boom. And if they want it right now, and they want the medicine because they want to get better, if they had any hiccup in their head besides the money, remember the money's at the end, guess what? They're going to ask questions, but Mr. Salesman, you said this. How can that work? Explain a little bit more about that. And when you get that type of interaction with your customer, guess what happens to you in your mind? You get excited because you know they're in the right track. So the more that you explain in regards and you get them to explain back, you get the feedback, right? And you get the customer asking on his own, you know that he is understanding. So guess what? You are going to the finish line correctly. Now, another reason, right, that people got to think about it is what? Because they don't understand, which is kind of in the same area that we're talking about. If your presentation is not in the correct sequence, even that you gave all the information, Joe, coach, listen, but I believe me, they know how this works. Yeah, but it was not done in a proper sequence, which, by the way, remember, a presentation takes you to a negotiation. Information, right, doesn't take you to a decision today. So if you're giving information, if you're tour guide, we call it, right? If you're just taking them up and giving information and yapping, how do you know they're in the right track? Okay, but a well-designed presentation will take you to the finish line, and it will come down to what? The dollars and cents. Now, of course, another reason that confused people, remember, confused people don't buy. Because if they're confused, even though you gave them all the information, if it's out of sequence, right, they are, man, and they're saying, think about it, and guess what? They're right. They're confused. And now you're going to try to make up things. That's why having a proper presentation, well designed to do what you want it to do, is extremely important. So we can rule that possibility out. Now, at the end of the presentation, when you've done everything right and you're bringing down to the money, if the product is too expensive, what do I mean? If you have not created value, right? Because value drives price. It's up to you to create the value necessary. So when you show the price, is what? A great deal, right? It's good. It makes sense. I'm getting all of this value for this much price. And the more expensive the product is, more reasons you got to create so they can buy it today. They have to justify. That's why when the value is not high and they ask you for a lot of money on something, and you say, man, that's a lot of money. Well, it's because the value is not up there. So guess what? You say it's not worth it. Now, a lot of times they will tell you straight up, and based on their personality, they might want to say, I don't want to tell the salesman that. They were too nice. You know what I mean? So they don't want to hurt your feelings. So guess what they do? I got to think about it. Let me analyze this. Let me research this. That's lack of trust right there, right? Research, excuse me? You know what I mean? But if you do your presentation with all the elements, you are minimizing the opportunity of those type of excuses. So at the end, guess what? If you create the right value, right? The value of the product, when you show the price, it should be what? My goodness, how can I get all of this? Why am I missing out on this? So guess what? They're going to look for a way to get involved. So think about it, can be, hey, listen, this is too expensive. Maybe I cannot pull it off. That's your job. Remember, your job is to create a system so that way they can afford it. Down payment, 20% now, 30% now, whatever the case is. If you're selling a house, of course, we have to do a good discovery, right? Take them through the process, show it to them in their head, and then, of course, at the end, they have to afford it. Because people will like to buy a house, but I want them to buy a house right now. Okay, I don't want them to think about it because you didn't give them the information pertinent that is going to close. It's like closing windows in their head, right? Boom, okay, what about this? And you are there, and the laws, and, what about this? What about that? That's what you do by creating that presentation. So at the end, it funnels down that if I have the money, if I can do the down payment, if I can do the monthly, but of course, I will buy it today and right now. Where do I sign? Mr. Salesman, help me get involved. See, there's no think about it there because you have done things correctly. Now, a lot of times we have done them right, but we didn't know we done them right. What my intentions are as a coach is to show you and highlight in your head so when you do it right all the time. At least you can do your presentation and let the rest fall in place. So think about it, can be a lot of things. Again, don't do a presentation to just one of them if they're married or whatever, because they're going to have to think about it. They don't want to give you that excuse. They don't want to give you, because your level of professionalism is so high that I don't want to say this excuse to you. So guess what I say? I want to think about it, right? We don't want them to have, right, paralysis by analysis. A lot of times too much information, right? See, information might drive it to a think about it. Sometimes we talk too much. Sometimes we say things that are unnecessary. Okay? But if you design your presentation, guess what? The presentation should have what is needed to cause the feelings and emotions that people need to feel to want to buy today if the money is right. Again, you know, if they have no money, whatever the product is, it doesn't matter what the product is. But if they want it hard enough, if the sickness is intense, if the urgency is there, if the product is expensive, they will find a way to get the money. But see, but there's no think about it. It's just, well, I have to deal with the finance part of it. I want to get involved, Mr. Salesman. You've done a great job to do this, and I want to do it. And you can see them sweating it, right? You can see them kind of like, you know, oh my God, how can I do this? I don't want to miss this opportunity, right? So again, we sell them through the presentation to eliminate the objections, right? The excuses and all that, to eliminate the possibility that I understand, asking them to explain it back. Because if you explain it back 2 and 3 times, and you ask them how that can benefit you, it will be difficult, right? See, they can go against what you say as a salesperson, but they will not go against what they say as a customer. Because when they say it, it becomes real. It becomes truth. And they don't want to say, I lied to myself, when I know that it makes sense to me. So what you're doing is asking the question so they can hear themselves. So you can check if you are in the right path. Can you find out if there's something? Because if you say, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Customer, do you have any questions? Guess what they're going to say? No, I don't have any questions. You see? So that's very too typical of a salesperson. What I want to do is I say, listen, did you understood what I just explained about this benefit or feature? Yes, I did. Can you explain it back? Boom, 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 boom. You're going to get the explanation. You're going to evaluate if it's good enough. And they say, okay, so if you had those features and benefits, how will you feel? How will that make your life easier? How will your family feel? How will be, you know, does that make sense? Yes. Oh my God, I will feel this. I will do this. I will do that. My kids will have that. This, you know, I'll give what I always dream about to my children. Okay. So when will be the best time for you to start enjoying this thing? You know, when? And guess what? They're going to say, well, as soon as possible, but it depends the money. And I know that I'm in the right track, you know, to be on the top on this particular presentation. Again, information doesn't require a decision, but a presentation demands it. Because it's designed to, at the end, the people say, man, I said so many times, I want this. It makes sense to me. It will work for my family. It will work for me financially. It's a smart thing to do. How can I say, well, I got to think about this, you know, and Mr. Salesman, give me your business cards. Remember, no B-backs, okay? We want to sell it today, and we want to sell it now, okay? Yes, every industry has a little twists and turns, but once you know what I'm talking about, you know that when you are in the presentation, in the decisive moment of truth, you need to step up your game because the customer already either research it, they know, they just want to make sure they're buying from a competent salesperson. So if you want to eliminate think about it, there's many ways, okay? Now, Mr. Customer, do you want to think about the finance or the benefits of the product? Mr. Customer, do you want to, is it the product? Is it the company? You know, but again, that is like, you know, at the end, you know, trying to save it. But if you do things correctly from the get-go and you show them and demonstrate them, they're dealing with the right salesperson. They're dealing with the best company possible. We are very competent as a company. Not because I say it, it's because I'm demonstrated, right? Documentation beats conversation. I'm going to show you all of that. Then I'm going to show you what the product can do for you. And along the way, you have said to me that this will be the right product because you will get this and you will. And then you also added to the deal that, of course, if you had this, you wanted to start enjoying those benefits and features right now as soon as possible. That it was only about the dollars and cents. Again, if you bring it to the dollars and cents, you're going to be closing more deals because you sold them in the front end and you close them easy in the back end. So again, I hope that that helps you. There's other ways that you can handle think about it. There's a lot of reasons that it can, you know, instigate the think about it excuse, but most of the time is based on that. So again, this is your coach, Joe Pinero, your sales success coach, bringing you the tip of the day. Thank you for listening. And remember, go for it. Go for it with passion. Okay, give it all you got. And I see you on the top. God bless you and have a successful day.